about voice. So as soon as my slides come up, I will take us through kind of where we are with the landscape. Obviously, voice is everywhere here at CES, so it's not a new technology for anybody who's working in hardware or working in software apps. But I think we're at an exciting point where it's starting to become really a part of everybody's life. Just to give you a quick background on where I am the head of marketing and biz dev at Creativity Incorporated, which is a design studio that's been around for over 20 years building interactive toys, mobile apps, and voice apps for children. So we're experts and hyper-focused on kids and families and emerging technologies, working in audio, programming, interaction design. We've produced over 7,000 products on brands like Star Wars and Disney Princess and Barbie, and we have worked on a lot of Toady Award-winning toys and hopefully some Cappies someday. We also started a division of our studio around this emerging technology with voice about 3 years ago. So we were kind of early adopters for the technology and continue to be with new features and different types of experiences. So we've worked on a lot of brands outside of kids in this space, from Stranger Things to the Grammys and Coachella. But we continue to focus on the toys and games market and feel really excited about what voice can bring to interactions and play for kids. Just to ground us in these ideas and these concepts, how many people here took a typing class in school when they were younger? Yes, everybody here. Hours of our lives spent dedicated to learning about all the peripherals that helped us to engage with technology. 10 years ago, we shifted over to a touchscreen experience when we worked with mobile phones and being able to package all of those computers into our pockets and take them with us. And it opened up a new way to engage with products and with each other. We just followed a great panel about social media. Everything is hyper-social. It also introduced a lot of friction for families and how they interact with screens. And it's been a topic of conversation that's been a part of my career since I started. Now we're at a stage where we have voice and augmented reality and different types of reality that's emerging. And it's really one of the first technologies that's pretty user-centric. So you don't have to learn how to use it. You have to know how to invoke it and kind of adopt a script. But it is learning you. It's becoming personalized to you and your preferences and trying to evolve that way. So I look at it as one of the very first user-centric, very true user-centric user interfaces for technology. And I want to stress that I really look at voice as an interface and a way to interact with technology, not a new channel. So mobile continues to be the top entry point for most people who are using voice search. You think about when you started to adopt it, maybe first in your car with your navigation or with your phone testing out Siri when she came out. But smart speakers continue to dominate the way that families are engaging because it's bringing technology into the home like never before. When you think about ways that you're using voice and how it's opening up new times to be able to interact with content and technology, think about times when you need to be hands-free, when you're in your kitchen, when you're in your car, when you're hanging out with your friends, or you want to take a break from looking at your screen. These are times when you can start to engage with voice and take it with you. And the Amazon Alexas, the Google Homes, Google Assistant platforms, they are adapting so that they can follow you and help to assist you during your day. So we look at this emergence of audio across podcasts and how that's really exploded. We look at hearables, which is a specific division of wearables that has smart earbuds that you're taking with you. Now you can take your personal assistant and your content and navigate through that while you're running or at the gym. When you're sitting with your family, you can have this ambient content that's behind you while you're sitting face-to-face with your kids. And it's also opening up accessibility in a huge way. So the elderly, young children, people who might not be able to use peripherals, they can now talk just using their most human interface. There's a variety of assistants out there that are available. Alexa, Google, they tend to be the most talked about. Cortana Cortana for enterprise, Bixby, but a lot of companies are starting to develop their own. And what remains synonymous across all of them is this idea that it's a personalized voice assistant. They're creating ambient assistants, so they're using the computing technology to be able to interface with different products and to provide a service to you. The Alexa team likes to say that there's 3 things that voice should do, and you try to hit all of them, but at least 2 of them. Using voice should be more efficient than using a different type of technology, so maybe not the best thing for browsing if you need to digest a lot of content. It should help you do something more quickly, or it can entertain you. So, fun fact I'd like to bring up is that the best-selling product on Amazon for the last 4 years, the family of products, is actually their Echo speaker. Of course, the Amazon Prime families are going to be some of the earliest ones to adopt, but this is one of the most gifted speakers in families today. The latest stats are that 26.2% of US adults own a smart speaker, many of them owning multiple devices and putting them across their home. And what I like to, when I talk about smart speakers, of course, it's not the only entry point. There's projected to be over 8 billion devices that will have voice in the next few years. From mobile phones all the way through to cars, to your smart toaster oven, and everything that you need. But smart speakers have altered the way people engage with voice assistants and their behavior as families. So I like to look at them as training devices and also a hub for being able to power other Bluetooth peripherals in the home. Here's the stat I mentioned about the 8 billion devices, which came from Juniper Research just this last year. So just a quick summary on that. Voice is really one of the future interfaces for engagement. It's providing ambient assistance to your day. It's very highly personalized to users, and it's opening up these routine interactions. I'll take you through one vertical that we're really close with just to kind of give you some thoughts around how you might integrate this into your product line or your brand or your play experiences. So I'm looking at the vertical of gaming. So when voice came out, some of the earliest gaming were software only, playing Jeopardy on Alexa per se, or you versus the AI, or you versus other people. But it's really evolved into a full ecosystem. There's monetization. There is now monetization for kids' skills as well. And they're opening up the ability to use Bluetooth-powered peripherals like toys and games that have Alexa integrated. One of the things I love about voice, which I've mentioned, is that it really augments your reality. So it doesn't have to be a disruptive factor when you're designing or you're playing with other people. So it's extremely immersive. Audio is a highly emotional experience, and it creates a very organic shared play experience. It also opens up the ability to deepen your content and to open up different storylines so that you can have multiple play experiences and different types of randomization. And if you think about digital as a channel, what's really great about it is you can optimize it after you launch. It's not locked into place when you first manufacture. One of the greatest use cases that I've seen that's already here with games is the fact that Alexa can be a game master. So you can remove the need for one of your friends to have to police the game or to tell you the rules, and you can ask Alexa to take on that role, and everybody can play. It's a great way to learn tutorials and learn new games, or to access an FAQ. And finally, one of the things that I think is most experienced is the fact that we're now at a stage where you can use Bluetooth to power other peripherals. One of the first ones that came out was the buttons from Amazon, which allow you to sort of buzz in and have an immediate trigger, and also to play multiplayer games against your friends. But now you'll be able to do that with other devices, like a game board, or a play kitchen, or an interactive puppy that understands when you're petting it and can tell Alexa to trigger a sound. So it's just opening up a lot of different play experiences. And with that, I'd love to take it over to David to deepen our understanding of how kids are using smart speakers and how families are reacting to that.
Great. Thank you. I'm David Kleeman. I'm Senior Vice President of Global Trends for Dubit, which is a British-based, I'm the US office, research and strategy company and digital studio. So we make games, apps, virtual worlds, VR, AR, platforms and things for kids, all focused on kids and teens. But we also study the state of what kids are doing with technology and with the devices that surround them in their lives. I thought today that maybe I'd bring a friend with me to help me with my presentation. So, hey, Cappy, what's the state of kids and smart speakers?
I have data from Dubit Trends Fall 2019 survey. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, I would, but I've got one question. What's Dubit Trends?
Dubit Trends is a twice-yearly, deep-dive survey of kids 2 to 15 and their media and technology ownership habits and preferences. It reaches 16,000 children and parents per year, twice a year in the US and UK, and approximately yearly in 17 other countries. Would you like to buy it now?
No, that's not why we're here. We'll take care of that later. By the way, I get the enviable task of showing you a lot of data, and it's going to be hard to see. You're welcome to take pictures of the screen, anything like that, but if you want to spend more time with it, feel free to give me a card afterward or send me an email. My contact information will be at the end. Happy to send you the deck, and you can spend more time with it. So, Cappy, can Dubit Trends tell me what percentage of kids are using smart speakers, or what they're doing with them?
Little kids and teens are using me more and more often, and I expect their use to grow even more, about 22% in the near term.
So if you look at this slide, you can see that it's the youngest audience, the 2 to 5s, that are growing the fastest, but they also started out much lower than the other groups. I think parents are starting to realize the potential of smart speakers for storytelling, you worry a little bit about outsourcing of parenting, the idea that the smart speaker is going to take over the roles that naturally should fall to the parent. But they're actually seeing this as a good way without a screen. So many parents are concerned about screen time, and don't get me started on the idea of screen time. I don't believe in it, given that screens do so many things. But I think a lot of parents see the potential now for non-screen based storytelling, gameplay, and things like that. So that's why you see this fairly steep rise in access to smart speakers. But I guess the question is, are those just ones that sit in the kitchen and the kid can play with it, or do kids actually have their own smart speakers?
Most just have one around the house that they can use, but the number who own one is growing slowly, and kids will increasingly realize that they have voice activation in their phones and tablets and TV sets.
Exactly. So we're seeing that among 12 to 15-year-olds, the sort of audience that owns its own technology most often, it's still only around 23% who own what they think of as a smart speaker when we ask them. But I think Cappy was right that we're only starting to realize that, hey, wait a minute, we're carrying around smart speakers in our pocket. There are so many voice-activated functions that are built into the phone, built into the tablet, that we're not thinking. I think when we ask kids, do you own a smart speaker, they may not be thinking of that. So, Cappy, what do kids do with the smart speakers when they've got one at home?
Everyone plays music, and kids love to ask me questions. I can also give information that helps with hobbies and homework, tell you the weather or sports scores, and I can tell stories.
So that's the top 5 things that you see highlighted there. It's play music or songs, which every age group does at quite a strong extent. And then you start to get into things that differ by age. So the youngest kids are not asking it questions in the same way that an older kid might seek information, might pursue something about a favorite hobby or a favorite game. Topical information: what's the weather today? What are did my team win last night? Set reminders. That's really more for the older kids, the 6 to 15-year-olds. And then listen to stories is where the little kids bounce back up again. And that's something that they're really doing with it quite a bit. When we asked kids in a qualitative study what they're doing with it, a lot of them said, we listen to music, obviously. They said, a lot of my friends just ask silly questions, or they ask it to tell a joke, or they look for random facts. I love this one about it's easier to understand how to do fractions. We saw kids we used to refer to YouTube as Kid Google, because kids would rather watch a video to find out an answer to a question than read the text. Now I think we're also moving to them looking for sound that they can do that. And then using it to read a story at bedtime when the kid is too tired to read for themselves. So they're popular now, Cappy, but what do you think is going to happen in the next couple months?
Almost everyone thinks they'll use me more, or at least about the same, in the next 6 months.
This is really across age groups. Almost every age group thinks that they're going to keep growing their uses of smart speakers. Do they get what they want? We often hear that it's really hard to get them to understand your questions. Are they finding what they're looking for?
Most of the time, but sometimes those darn kids can be hard to understand.
That's true. I was really surprised by this statistic, actually, that almost roughly 90% across all age groups are getting what they're looking for when they talk to the smart speaker. I really anticipated that the 2 to 5-year-olds would have a very difficult time forming questions for it, or that it would have a hard time understanding their voice, but it really seems like they feel, at least, that they're getting what they were looking for. They do say there are some problems. They say it can't answer joke questions. If you ask it something stupid, sometimes it doesn't have an answer for that. Not much to do about that. Sometimes it answers in ways that are not age appropriate. Hard for it to understand at the moment, at least. Through AI, maybe it'll come to understand who's speaking to it and what level they're looking for information. It doesn't understand little kids' voices. And sometimes the household, especially with little kids around, I'm guessing, is too noisy for it to work well. What about parents? I get the impression some parents are kind of concerned about smart speakers in the home. We read a lot about that.
Everyone is concerned about privacy, especially parents of older kids. Parents of younger kids are also worried about if I'll understand their child. Have you seen the video where I accidentally searched for porn when the kid wanted Twinkle Twinkle?
Yeah, I saw that. If you haven't seen it yet, go seek it out. The child is asking for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and the smart speaker doesn't understand and says, "Playing porn," and you hear the parent from across the room go, "No!" and leap across and try to stop it. The top 3 uses the top 3 concerns for parents do have to do with inappropriate content, with the idea that maybe it's listening in on their family or recording conversations. But what was interesting to me is the 2 to 5-year-olds. What really pops up among the parents there is, I'm afraid it won't understand my kids. I'm afraid it won't give them what they're looking for. I'm afraid it won't understand their voice or if they have an accent. But by contrast, the kids are saying, we feel like it does understand us. They say parents say it's not like mobile phone, it's not mobile like tablets or smartphones, so they have to be in one place to do it. I was fascinated by this one. Relying on Alexa could limit your ability to research. So whether kids will start to fall back on the intelligence in the same way that we use Google now. We all have Google Brain. Ads for things that were discussed when the speaker was supposedly inactive, and worried about privacy and hacking. So Cappy, what's coming next for smart speakers? And the answer is, she has nothing to say here. More product integrations. I think you heard Caitlin talk about that a little bit, about the ability for it to talk to toys as well, so that you have kind of this 3-way conversation that it's activating. Parental concerns about privacy. I've been in this business a long time. I've been in children's media 35 years, and from the V-chip to all the newer technologies, at every level, parents say, I'm really worried about whether this is appropriate for my kid, whether privacy, content, but they don't not use it. 97% of parents said they wanted a V-chip installed in every television set. When it actually was installed in every television set, 7% actually activated it. So it's not going to stop them from using it, but we do need to be attentive to their concerns about privacy. It'll understand kids a lot better. And then the one I find most interesting is we're finding a lot of brand silos now in 2 ways. One is if I say to Siri that I want to watch something that's on Amazon Prime, it can't make that connection across brands. And then secondly, if I say I want to watch Peppa Pig and I'm on Amazon, it's likely to say, unless you have your Amazon Fire Stick attached to your television set, I'm afraid I can't play that right now. Really frustrating to kids to get that kind of answer. So I think that we've seen an agreement already that is going to reduce those brand silos, and I think that's only going to get more so.
Thanks, David, for a good conversation. If the lovely people out there in the audience want to know more about this, here's how they can reach you and me.
Great, thank you, Cappy. And I think that's it for us.
Thank you, David and Caitlin.
Awesome.
So in our house, Alexa actually, we call her it, a resource. We used to call her a her until Mom wrote an article on all that, but that's another day. She's a resource in our house, and the key is when you're not supposed to use Alexa for your answers for your homework, the volume, they know how to work that volume better than I do.
So listen very
But she's
closely.
a resource.
Yeah.
It's a resource.
Whispering
So,
to her,
yeah,
or to it.
it's great.
Yeah.
We're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.